Hello guys, welcome to another video. First of all, I said that this story doesn't belong to me, so if you read the full story for yourself, you can go down in the description to find the link to the original post and read the full story for yourself. That being said, let's get into the video. The Legacy, Chapter 24 and Part 24, Invasion. Oh yeah, I wanna say that this story is gonna be really long, so get ready for that. With that being said, let's get into the video. Konoha outskirts. About half a mile outside of Konoha, there was an armed team doing patrol. It was a regular mission, and they seemed calm as patrolling missions very rarely placed any trouble at them. Although they seemed calm on the outside, all the armed personnel were warned about the incoming invasion, and as such, they were all in high alert. They just didn't show it. Suddenly, an envoy of said team stopped and looked around. You sense anything? Another envoy asked. No, Captain. The envoy that stopped replied, while replied another thing to his team leader using the envoy sign language. Possible shinobi group, the envoy said, and the leader nodded. The envoy quickly and stealthily approached the encampment and saw 8 sand shinobi flattened in the circle. In the middle of the circle was a kaijin spear straight through it and stopping just near each of them the sand shinobi's feet. Just near each of the sand shinobi's feet. Each of the sand shinobi had a small scroll in their mouth and was going through hand seals very slowly. From the look of it, the technique seemed awfully complicated and it seemed they must not get it wrong. Looks like a summoning ring, Anbu said to their captain. Yes, we can't allow them to summon anything. Get in your positions, the captain ordered. I can't allow that, a voice suddenly said behind them. They all turned around and saw a man. He had a amber aura, dark eyes. He wore a single black jacket and pants with mesh armor underneath. He carried a small castle staff to his hip. It was none other than the Yondame Kazekage himself. Suddenly, what appeared to be sand started falling out of his casket and quickly and swiftly it wrapped around all four Anbus and causing them to death. Let's get this over with, the Kazekage commanded. Stadium. Crowd. What's this? Sakura asked as she watched feathers starting following nowhere, making her sleepy. Genjutsu? She asked right before breaking the illusion. Genjutsu? Sasuke wondered as he also broke the illusion. He was being invaded by. We are being invaded by the sound and the sand. Kakashi explained as he fought against the couple of sound shinobi. What? Sakura yelled. The sand is our ally, she started. They are no longer our allies. We knew about this invasion since the end of the second phase of the Chunin exam, so are prepared, Kakashi said, trying to ease the worries of the fresh Genins. Then why didn't we know? Sasuke asked, getting pissed off by being kept in the dark. We had to keep it a secret so they didn't find out we knew. Kakashi said. Sakura was pretty much terrified from what was happening. She was never had any real type of mission aside from the wave mission that got bumped into an A rank, so she was pretty fresh. Sakura was from a civilian family, and as such, she wasn't prepared for the hardship of a shinobi life and lived her life sheltered in Konoha. Sakura was about to ask another thing when they noticed Gaara explode in sand and showing his full transformed Biju. Sakura never got so scared in her life seeing such a colossal beast in front of her. In that moment she realized what people must have faced when the QV attacked 14 years ago. Sensei, Gaara, Sakura tried to say, but her voice didn't reach her. She looked around, and every one of her graduation class as was sleeping along with the civilians. Only Sakura, Hinata, and apparently Sasuke managed to dispel the genjutsu. Sasuke is an arrogant kid, but he isn't without skill. Don't worry, Sakura. I said we plan for this, and Naruto will take care of Kara. Kakashi said. You mean that dope knew while me and Uchiha Elite didn't? Sasuke asked. This isn't the time. Genin, Kakashi said in a serious voice. Your mission is to help evacuate the civilians to the shelters. Wake up your classmates and spread into teams. Go! Kakashi commanded, and Sakura immediately jumped to her feet while Sasuke was reluctant but nodded as well. Hinata teamed up with Zabuza and Haku and started wiping and tearing those or wrapping and tearing those you know. It's Kakashi said, and she nodded. Holy! Kakashi all but yelled when he looked at the arena and saw a massive boom of smoke. But the surprising part was that that the smoke wasn't coming from Shukaku, but rather than from Naruto himself. Kage walks when Orochimaru gave the signal to start the invasion. The entire Kage box erupted in smoke, blocking the sight of the Kages and making the guards take defensive maneuvers to ensure the safety of their leader. Every one of them jumped from the Kage box and to the nearby roof. With what neither of them expected was the Kage's guard to suddenly become four people, each one of them taking a corner of the roof. Each one of the guards was from the sound. All of them went through the same hand seals at the same time. They all shouted, "Ninja art, port, flames, formation," and a purple barrier like the one in the arena erupted. One in the arena emerged and trapped the Kages inside. Inside the barrier was the Hokage, the Raikage, and the Kazekage. And the surprising there was also Joraiya, who managed to follow his sensei to the roof and also got trapped inside. What's the meaning of this? The Kage asked, not pleased with what happened. Each of the Kages were keeping a secure distance from each other. I'm sorry for not warning you, Raikage Tono, but I didn't know which side you would take. The Hokage spoke and made the Raikage glare at him. Explain! The Raikage almost shouted. Let me make the honors, Raikage, the Kazekage said before removing his clothes and revealing a smirking Orochimaru. Orochimaru? The Raikage asked, not believing his eyes. He would Orochimaru be posing. Why could Orochimaru be posing as a Kage? And neither he or nor his guards noticed it. I am. Orochimaru replied with a twisted smile. Now, Sensei, let the fun begin. Orochimaru said, licking his lips in anticipation. Fool, you fool! It is 3 against 1. You stand no chance. The Raikage replied, getting raised eyebrows from the Hokage and Jiraiya. Kumo and Konoha were in very good terms since the Kumo and Konoha were never in really good terms since the Hyuga kidnapping. 3. The Hokage asked hopefully, yes, I will fight with you. Consider it an apology for my father's mistake. The Raikage eyed before gathering his voice and shouting, Kumo, we fight for Konoha! Hi, Darwick C and Killer B yelled from outside the barrier before splitting in and going to face the sound and sand head on. I appreciate it, Raikage Tono. The Hokage said. Perhaps there was hope to be an alliance between the two most powerful hidden villages. Yes, now let's skin now. Yes, now let's skin a snake. The Raikage says, smirking. Orochimaru never expected Kumo to join Konoha. That is why, even though the Raikage was present, Orochimaru still launched his invasion. Naive, Orochimaru said before going through the hand seals. Orochimaru may be lots of things, but one thing he wasn't was stupid, and as such he was prepared for such odds. Tiger, snake, dog, dragon. Orochimaru went through the hand seals and clapped his hands. Edo Tensei, Orochimaru said, and almost immediately four coffins sprouted from the ground. The coffin slowly opened and revealed four shinobis, seemingly dead, but in reality they were just waiting for Orochimaru to activate them for the upcoming battle. Shit! The Raikage, Hokage, and Jiraiya all thought at the same time when they saw who was in each of the summoning coffins. Arena, Naruto watched in wonder the sheer size of Shukaku. That's one big raccoon, Naruto said. Hayate, Naruto said, turning to him. Leave the arena, Naruto said, and he nodded, knowing full well that Naruto was responsible for taking him down, and having him there could disturb Naruto's fight. Kurama, juice me. Naruto thought to his partner. Okay, Kurama replied Kurama replied before sending chakra to Naruto. Almost instantly, a semi-transparent red cloak enveloped Naruto. His eyes turned blood red with a vertical slit in middle. His whiskers mark became more pronounced, and his fangs elongated. In Naruto's back, nine chakra tails were swirling wildly as if they didn't have a mind, as if it didn't have a mind of their own. Naruto placed his hands in a cross sign and said, "Massive shadow clone Jutsu." And in an instant, nearly 2,000 multiple shadow clone jutsu, and nearly 2,000 clones pop into existence, consuming his cloak, each one of them with enough chakra to match a Jonin. There were Naruto's as far as the eye could see, spread through the village. You provide is to your pro, your priority is to protect and evacuate the civilians. Provide assistance where you can, Naruto ordered. Hi! All of the clone consumed before jumping away from the arena, leaving their creator to fight the QB. Naruto placed his hands against in a cross sign and in, uh, said, "Eh, enhanced shadow clone," and a single clone pooped into existence. His clone was like the This clone was like the rest, however, he was reinforced, making him more durable than the other and capable of taking hits before dissuading. Join with Hinata and protect her, he said, and the clone nodded before using the Hiraishin to teleport himself to Hinata's Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto said, and four clones poofed into existence. Kurama, I will put up a barrier. Can you take control of the bushes and hold it in place? Naruto asked, keeping 2,000 clones activated, powering an S-rank barrier and still be able to fight a Biju required too much concentration that Naruto wasn't capable of yet. No problem, Kurama replied in an interested with the four clones. In an instant. The four clones spread to the four corners of the arena. They went through hand seals at the same time and said, "Ninja art, four flames formation," and a purple barrier erupted, trapping Shukaku and Naruto inside. However, before the whole barrier could close, three sand shinobis jumped over the forming barrier and landed inside. They were Sabuko no Tamari, Samuko no Kankaro, and their Jonin sensei Baki. Damn, Naruto said as he watched the sand shinobi take places near Gaara. This has just got a lot more dangerous, no holding back. Naruto thought before prematurely keeping his EMS activated. His hand tightly gripped his fan as he began battle ready to go up against a Jonin, two Kenin, and a Beiju. I will have to take out Kankaro and Tamari first, Naruto thought before releasing his grip on his fan taking and taking from his storage steals a couple of three-pronged kunais. Naruto watched as the Sand Jonin shinobis jumped to head of Sukaku, and yet he didn't he did nothing to remove them. Looks like Gaara is almost in control, mostly in control. Naruto thought. He looked up to Shukaku's head and noticed Tamari reading her fan and Kankaro unwearingly his bullet relieving a puppet revealing a puppet. Great, a puppet user. Just my luck. Naruto thought his art didn't look good. He cursed himself for not training his eyes further so he could use the techniques Kurama, use the techniques Kurama told him. You made me feel alive, Uzumaki. Shukaku yelled, and it was clearly was Gaara's voice. Crazy bastard, Naruto thought as he as he launched his three-pronged kunais towards the enemies, but was blocked by Baki's kunais. Baki looked at the kunais and was interested in the design as it was different from the others until he remembered where he saw them. He remembered the legend that used those kunais to determine an enemy, demolish an army. At this, Baki wondered before he picked the kunai up with his hand and noticed the kanji in the handle. Wrong move. Naruto said before flashing towards the kunai he previously threw. All they saw was a yellow flash before Naruto appeared behind Baki and slammed a Rasen gun into his back. He went flying and crashing into the ground, completely out. Naruto ducked and under a fan swipe from Tamari and gave her a punch to the stomach, making her walk in pain. Naruto punched Tamari and jumped to the side to avoid a barrage of sand blown towards by Kankaro's weapon. Naruto quickly picked another kunai and threw at Kankaro's real body. Kankaro found between his weapons when he saw Naruto throw the same kunai he used to take out his sensei who was Jonin. Kankaro did the only thing he thought and jumped away far enough from the kunai's reach. Naruto jumped from the Ichibi's stand and was starting to gather around his feet, trying to snare him in place. He approached Baki. He was all still alive, although barely. Naruto picked Baki up and completely restored him in a status still. What the hell was that? Kankaro asked with fear clearly displayed in his voice. The blonde in front of them just took out their sensor like he was nothing. Idiot. Don't you remember the history of history from the academy? Tamari asked as she recovered from the blow Naruto delivered her. Seeing Kankaro obviously face Tamari's decision to explain. That technique, that yellow flash, is the same as the Yandame Hokage used that gave him the name of the Yellow Flash. He used the technique of that creation that allowed him to teleport to the kunai he threw and used it to kill almost 1,000 shinobis in the from Iwa in a flash. He alone won the war. Tamari explained and Kankaro turned to the blonde busy who was busy dodging the sand. I see. You know history very well. A voice whispered just behind Tamari's ears. She turned her head slightly and was greeted by no one no one other than Naruto. Kankaro just had enough to blink, enough time to blink. He was watching Naruto dodge and dodge the sand when suddenly he appeared right behind Tamari. How? Tamari asked, shuddering, clearly afraid of Naruto. He was is a technique that allowed the Yandame to kill an entire battalion of shinobis in an instant. When I punched you in the stomach, I left my mark on you. Naruto simply replied before giving her a quick chop to the back of her head, knocking her out. He quickly flashed to the ground with an unconscious Tamari and sealed her in a status scroll as well. You bastard! Kankaro growled from the top of the Ichibi before sending his puppet to attack Naruto. You should be grateful I didn't kill your sister, Naruto said in a motionless voice. Kankaro simply gazed upon Naruto's blood-red eyes and was starting to feel sleepy. Kai, Kankaro said and flared his chakra, breaking Naruto's hypnosis eye. Put a vacuum wind style. Vacuum wind bullet, Shukaku said before slamming his hand in his stomach and explaining a very large ball of compressed wind. The ball itself was bigger than Naruto himself. Naruto grabbed his pen and channeling chakra through it, he swat the bullet away, making the ground shake from the pressure and power. Naruto jumped to the side to avoid Kankaro's puppet and he noticed that the puppet's blade were filled with poisons. I need to take him out so I can focus on Kara, Naruto thought before he dashed towards Kankaro's puppet. Used his Sharingan and quickly found the chakra strings Kankaro was using to control his puppets. Naruto channeled chakra through one of his kunais and used it to sever his strings, making the puppets fall limp to the ground. Naruto quickly approached next to the fallen puppets and dropped a Rasengan to it, shattering it to pieces. Bastard, Kankaro said to Naruto as he lost his best weapons. What can you do now? Naruto asked, pissing off Kankaro and making him jump from the Ichibi's hand and running off straight for Naruto. Naruto smirked when he noticed how easy it was to rally Kankaro. Kankaro quickly arrived near Naruto and tried a horizontal slash only to Naruto to duck. Naruto quickly rose up and wrapped his arms, disarming him from his kunai. Naruto grabbed him tightly by the arm and flipped him through the air and slamming him into the ground. Naruto quickly placed his hand into the Kaigon and placed a sleeping seal. Once Kankaro was disabled, he sealed him as well inside a status scroll. Now that's done, it's only you and me, Naruto said, eyeing Shukaku. Die! Shukaku yelled as he filled few more wind bullets that in this case were more like the size of a people themselves. Naruto swiftly dodged them and watched as they collided with the barrier, but it didn't even waver. Good, the barrier is holding even though it is powered by clones. Naruto thought. Naruto analyzed Shukaku and noticed he was very slow. He hadn't moved since he was released, so Naruto could take that as an advantage. Naruto took out a single shuriken. He placed it on his pointer finger in his right hand. Naruto molded wind chakra and slowly expelled it to the shuriken. Soon enough, the shuriken started spinning, and around it, the wind started spinning as well, creating a circular saw. Shuriken wind blade. Naruto said and threw the shuriken. The shuriken went flying with impressive speed towards Shukaku, Shukaku remained in place as its mobility was inexistent. The Shukaku arrived nearly shuriken arrived near Shukaku and swiftly and without much travel it cut right through his right arm, severing it completely and making it fall to the ground. The arm fell limply to the ground and started crumbling away until it remained nothing but sand on the ground. Although Shukaku just had his left arm severed, he didn't seem to be in any type of pain. You intimate me, Uzumaki. You intimate me, Uzumaki. Shukaku yelled, and sand above Shukaku's head started moving, and something could be seen popping out. Naruto narrowed his eyes to finger emerging and saw that it was Gaara himself. Gaara placed his hands in the tiger's seal and said, "Play Poison Jutsu," and promptly fell asleep. Gaara leaned forward and his body went completely limp. Just as Gaara fell asleep, Shukaku's eyes glowed yellow and stayed like that, showing that it was Shukaku who was now in control. I am free! I am going to kill you and destroy everything! Shukaku yelled as he was happy to be free once again. Shukaku immediately went into action, trying to crush the blonde and leave the barrier so he could have fun with an vacuum wind bullet. The Shukaku said and started expelling compressed wind bullets toward Naruto, who was forced to start evasion maneuvers. Naruto watched very carefully as they hit the barrier. He couldn't allow Shukaku to remain free, though the village, or he could destroy it. A Titan, a great drag, a great fire style, great fire, great dragon fireball, great dragon fire jutsu. Naruto said and unleashed a big fire dragon towards Shukaku. Naruto swinged his fan and empowered the flames, making them wider and bigger. The flames were almost the size of Shukaku himself. Shukaku let out a roar and the flames were dispelled into nothing. Shukaku flexed his tail and tried to smash Naruto, but he jumped to the side to avoid it. The tail aggressively back out, but this time it stayed but above Shukaku's mouth. Naruto black and blue chakra could be seen by floating in the air and gathering around Shukaku's mouth. The chakra started gathering and combining itself in a ball. Suddenly black and blue chakra could be seen floating in the air and gathering around Shukaku's mouth. The chakra started gathering and compressing itself in a ball just outside Shukaku's mouth. Is that what I think it is? Naruto asked when he watched the ball of chakra form itself very much like Naruto used his Rasengan. It's a Bijutama. And I don't think your clone-powered barrier can withstand that. Kurama said even though Shukaku was the weakest of the nine, a Bijou bomb is still strong. Let's see if this weapon truly lives up to its name, Naruto said before grabbing his fan tight. Shukaku stopped gathering chakra in the ball and suddenly fired it with tremendous speed. Naruto watched the purple ball coming towards him. Naruto grabbed his fan and placed it in front of him, his right hand grabbing the hilt while his left hand grabbing the other end. The fan was acting like a shield in front of Naruto. Deflection, Naruto said just before the bomb hit the fan. but the Biju bomb collided with the fan, and at first nothing happened. But suddenly the bomb exploded. But instead of blowing Naruto, it was completely reflected towards Shukaku. The amount of pressure being put into the fan made Naruto's knee and crack beneath the ground beneath crack with but he was able to withstand the bomb, and he focused his explosion was sent towards Shukaku. Naruto placed the fan in his back and cleared a bit of sweat that was dropping from the sand side of his face. That went well, Naruto thought. Now you believe what I said about the fan, Kurama said in a scary voice. Yes, yes, yes. Now let's end this. Naruto replied and watched as the smoke cleared and revealed a fully scratched Shukaku with his right arm missing as well. Naruto contacted and focused his chakra. Suddenly, right beneath the Shukaku, golden chains erupted from the ground and pinned him to the ground. Shukaku was fully trapped. He had chains wrapped around his tail's mouth and a majority of his body, making him unable to do a single movement. Rat, ox, dog, boar. Naruto went through the hand seals and clapped his hands together. He slammed his right hand on the ground, and Kanji started flowing out of it and going towards Shukaku and forming a ring around him. 5 point demonic suppression seal. Naruto said, and the kanji started glowing. Shukaku yelled in pain as his chakra was being forced back into the seal. All the shinobi stopped their fighting and looked at the arena while Shukaku was howling in pain. You are not going anywhere, Naruto said. Naruto reinforced the chains as he could feel Shukaku trying to break them free and get away from the seal. Shukaku's form started to waver, and the sand slowly started crumbling and forming into Kara. A few seconds later, there was nothing but a ball of sand floating in the air. The ball of sand was becoming smaller and smaller by the second when suddenly all the sand disappeared and Gaara fell to the ground completely unconscious. Naruto approached Gaara and saw his new seal in Gaara's neck. It formed a complete circle around Gaara's main seal. Naruto looked carefully at him and noticed a few irregularities. The main seal had no suppression seal in it and no safe hatch. At this point, Gaara's seal was nothing more than an advanced storage seal. This is why Gaara is so unstable, Naruto thought before approaching him and also placing in a status scroll, putting him with his team. Naruto took a few deep breaths and dropped the barrier while shifting his eyes towards the roof while the Kage battle was taking place. With Hinata just received orders from Kakashi and went to join forces with Zabuza so they could bring the pain to the invading force. Hinata quickly located Zabuza and Haku and jumped towards them. We have orders, Zabuza, Hinata said as she was watching Zabuza behead a sound shinobi with his sword. Dima answered, "Which are?" Zabuza asked. "We are to group up and start swiping the streets while evacuating and providing protection to the civilians. When the civilians are evacuated, we are to launch a counter-attack," Hinata explained. "Let's go then," Zabuza said as he placed his blade to his back. They were about to leave when they saw a yellow flash. They narrowed their eyes and saw Naruto just arrived near them. "Naruto-kun," Hinata asked, surprised. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I am a reinforced clone. Boss sent me to team up with you, all of you, and provide protection to you as well," Naruto explained, and they all nodded. They all withdrew their weapons. Naruto picked a couple of three-pronged kunais. Haku took out Senbons and Hinata picked her daggers. They quickly left the arena and made their way towards the middle of the village, indicating the evacuation path, indicating the in, indicating the evacuation path to the civilians. They were about to leave when a group of 10 sound shinobi jumped in front of them. Naruto quickly sensed their chakra levels and they were ordinary tunings. What do we have here? The obvious sounds leader asked a jonin and a couple of kids, he said while the rest of the crew laughed. Obviously, the sound shinobis weren't watching the tuning exams or they would have seen just what these kids could do. It is time for the yellow flash to resurface, Naruto said and got confused looks from Zabuza and Haku. He smirked and threw one of his special kunais towards the enemies. They all laughed when the kunai didn't hit anyone and simply launched harmlessly on the ground in the middle of them. Don't blink, Naruto said to his stream and disappeared in a yellow flash. All Zabuza was able to see was a yellow flash. Naruto disappeared from view and when Zabuza saw him once again, all of the sound shinobi were on the ground dead, their torsos slashed. That was Zabuza said, but tailed off as he pieced together who Naruto was. You are the son of the yellow flash, aren't you? Zabuza asked, but the answer seemed pretty obvious. Yes, my father was Namikaze Minato, Konoha's yellow flash and the fourth Hokage, and also Uchiha Madara's son. Naruto then explained and got disbelief looks from Zabuza and Haku, who had their eyes widened. I am done trying to figure you out, Zabuza said, laughing. Tell me, how long can you use that technique? Zabuza asked. It was a pain in the ass to create the seal. I can use it since I became genin. Naruto explained. Unbelievable, Zabuza said while shaking his head in disbelief. Let's continue, Zabuza said, and they grouped together and dashed once again towards the streets. Hinata, Naruto said, turning to her. Use your Bakugan to see where we are needed. This situation is clear. This section is clear. Naruto explained, and Hinata nodded before activating her Byakugan without any seals. She gasped to see what gasped to what she saw. The academy is under siege, she said, and got disbelief looks from Naruto. The academy? He asked incredulously. What about the barrier? He asked. There is no barrier. The sound and the sand shinobi trying to force entry, but Iruka-sensei and couple other tunings are holding them off. She explains. Let's hurry up then. I cannot teleport all of you with the Hiraition since I am only a clone, and we will take too long if we walk. Naruto said and got confused looks from the rest of the team. If we cannot then teleport them and they cannot walk, what else were they to do? This might feel a bit uncomfortable. Naruto said before activating his Kamui and sucking Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata into it. He quickly disappeared as well, leaving no trace of either of them. Academy. At the academy, things weren't looking pretty. Iruka and the other teachers were trying to hold off the enemy until Shinobi would arrive, but they wouldn't last much longer. The tunings that was powering the barrier was tricked when a sand shinobi changed into a Konoha shinobi and infiltrated the barrier, killing the one powering it. The students were all scared. The enemy managed to collapse the tunnel leading to the bunkers, and since the barrier was down, the only keeping them alive was were the teachers that were battling fiercely to protect the lives of their students by preventing the enemy from entering the academy. Iruka, this doesn't look good, one of the teachers said. He was clearly tired. He was sweating from every place and was breathing very hard. Even though he wasn't fatally injured, he was filled with small cuts and bruises from the fight. We cannot do much. We must hold it until reinforcements arrive, Iruka said. Iruka was also running low on chakra, even though he was quite skilled for a chunin. A couple of chunins couldn't fend off 15 sand chunins independently. Just give up. You cannot win, the obviously team leader said as he watched the teachers breathing heavily. They already managed to kill a couple of teachers, but these two were proving rather difficult. They were managing to keep them at bay by launching long-range jutsus and weapons. Iruka, behind you! Iruka, behind you! The other teachers yelled. Looks like the execution was finally catch up to them as the Sand Chunin managed to sneak up on exhaustion. Managed to catch up to them as the Sand Chunin managed to sneak up on Iruka. Iruka turned his head to see who was behind him when he noticed the kunai going for his throat. Iruka resigned to his fate as he couldn't do anything more to dodge. His chakra reserves were empty and he was tired and running out of weapons. He had his eyes closed and was expecting the pain when he heard Raikiri. Iruka opened his eyes to see a hand enveloped in lightning chakra piercing right through the sand shinobi's chest. The shinobi hit the ground dead. He didn't even scream. He was dead the moment Naruto pierced him. Naruto! Iruka said, stuttering. Don't worry, Iruka-sensei, we will take care of the rest, Naruto said before space seemed to be bending and from his eyes opened the rest of his team, Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata. What the hell was that, brat? Zabuza asked, feeling a bit disoriented. A space-time ninjutsu similar to my Hiraishin. Take care of the Take care of them while I gather everyone inside the academy and put up a barrier. Naruto said, and the rest of the team dashed to the remaining 14 shinobis. In less than 5 minutes, even every single one of them were dead. Between Hinata's gentle fist, Haku's senpons, and Zabuza's sword, no one stood a chance. Oh my god! Iruka said, shuddering as he watched Hinata fight and swipe the enemy as if they were nothing more than ants. Hinata seemed to be dancing and flowing through the attack of the enemies. Her Byakugan allowed her to pinpoint and track each enemy. She only needed to touch the enemy once. She honored the traditional style name as the Gentle Fist. One simple touch and the enemy would fall to the ground dead. Hinata had many to accomplish this. She could open the gentle gate of death. She could open the gate of death, making their heart explode. She could crack the chakra core, destroying the chakra network, killing the enemy, or if didn't have across to such pain place, she would use her Jugen with lightning and influence it through the enemy's network, frying it and killing the enemy, and truly was a god. She truly was a goddess of death. Iruka sensed what happened to the barrier. Naruto asked, breaking Iruka from his thoughts. The barrier shield he created wasn't supposed to come crashing down very easily. He would require a powerful attack to destroy it. One Sand Shinobi hinged into a Konoha one and infiltrated the academy. He also managed to collapse the evacuation tunnel. Iruka explained, I understand. It is very dangerous to evacuate so many students to the middle of the street, so I'll put another barrier up. Naruto explained and Iruka sighed in relief. It looked like his students were going to pull through. Zabuza, hold them off while I replace the barrier, Naruto said, and he nodded before his team took defensive stance, watching for any hostile shinobis while Naruto was doing his arc. Naruto noticed all the seal tags in the wall were destroyed and he needed to create new ones. He quickly took out a few empty tags from his storage seals and started writing seals. Iruka just watching fascination, the speed and quality at which Naruto drew the seals. It's obviously proved that Naruto was very skilled in doing jutsu. Naruto quickly finished the tags and Iruka explained them. Explained them. Each kanji was perfectly examined them. Each kanji was perfectly drawn. Not a speak of imperfection could be seen. It almost looked like a work of art. Get inside, Naruto said, and Iruka went to collect the others teachers that was unconscious but not severely hurt. Once inside, Naruto made a shadow clone and he made his way towards the outside of the academy. He slammed on the tag on the wall and said, "Four corner barrier," and a yellowish barrier erupted, completely covering the academy grounds. Naruto's clone sat down in a lotus position and started concentrating to increase the power of the barrier. The enforced clone on the outside on the barrier said, "Iruka Sensei, you are safe now. We will continue to look through the village." Naruto turned away to join up with his team and moved to another section of the village when they saw a big explosion that rose into the sky. Explosion site. Minutes earlier, B was running through the streets trying his best to help out where he could. Darui and C teamed up with Omoi and Karin and went to grab Yugito at the infirmary. B quickly looked at the horizon and noticed a three-headed snake breaking through the walls of Konoha and started to wreak havoc through the village. The shinobis were throwing jutsus after jutsu, but nothing seemed to work. "Push him out of the village!" one of the shinobi yelled, and as they threw explosion kunais towards the snake, but that didn't even scratch the snake as he continued on her path. They were quickly running out of options when they heard what it seemed to be someone rapping, and a lemon at that. You are going down, fool, you fool, because I am the mighty killer Bay." B rapped while running through the jumping through the roofs and heading to face the snake. "I will take care of that worm," B said before fully transforming into his Biju. There, standing in the middle of Konoha, was the Hachibi. B quickly wrapped the snakes with his tentacles and threw at the air, so she couldn't do any more destruction. All of his eight tails quickly bent over his head, ending just above his mouth. Black and blue chakra was seen gathering around it, compressing it to form a perfect spear. "Biju Dama, Biju Bomb," B said and shot the ball towards the snake that was in the air. The moment the ball collided, it immediately exploded in a show of fire and smoke. Seconds later, as the smoke was starting to clear, there was nothing remaining of the snake. He didn't know if she was uh, obtained or just went back to the to her real but at the real world. But at this moment, it didn't matter. Konoha was safe for now. Thank you for helping us, B-san," a Konoha shinobi said before picking up an injured comrade and going to the hospital. Konoha's wall. One of the Naruto's clone was running through the village, clearing shinobis and helping civilians where he could. Due to him being a standard clone, even with his Kamui, it was risky to engage in taijutsu, but he could always rely in a jutsu, and he was really good at it. "Push them back!" Naruto heard a shinobi yelling and made his way towards him to provide as much help as he could. Even if he was a clone, at least be a bit of a bit for slowing the enemy down. He arrived at the destination and saw a group of Konoha shinobis throwing jutsus and weapons trying to delay a group of about 2,000 Zen shinobis leading by the Kazekage into the village. However, the group just kept throwing wind jutsus and having the Kazekage in them made sure that they weren't harmed due to his cold sand dust. It wasn't looking good as the enemies kept coming. If people didn't arrive, it would be a massacre. Naruto arrived at their location and quickly surveyed the area looking for anyone he might know. His eyes landed on Anko. Anko, up? What's happening? And Naruto asked. She looked around to find the annoying blonde. Naruto, what are you doing here? Anko asked. Are you the reinforcement we asked? She asked, hoping that the only reinforcement that came weren't Naruto along. I wasn't sent by anyone. I am just a clone. Boss is taking care of the Shukaku at the stadium. Naruto explained and Anko simply stared dumbly at him before scowling. Just my luck, a freaking clone, Anko said. If you explain the situation, maybe I could help. Naruto said flatly, trying not to cause many problems, especially in the middle of an invasion. Very simple. The Kazekage is leading 2,000 shinobi into the village and we aren't able to slow them down. Anko said and stared at Naruto, waiting for his malicious answer. I think I have just the jutsu for this, Naruto said, smirking, making Anko raise an eyebrow. But I am just a clone, so it would take a couple of minutes to prepare. Can you hold them off until then? Naruto asked. I hope it is worth it. Anko said, yelling. Hold off a couple of more minutes. Hi! The shinobis that were with her yelled. They were very few in numbers compared to an overwhelming force of 2,000 trained shinobis. Naruto sat down in a lotus position and clapped his hands together as if praying. He slowly drove them apart a few inches from each other, and sparks started flying between them. He continued concentrating, and after a few moments, the sparking gathering and a blue spear that was shining. Okay, Anko is ready, Naruto said, and Anko turned around to see the jutsu. Is that it? A small blue spear? Anko said, not believing her eyes. So much work just for that? No faith? Naruto asked, smirking, and launched the ball into the sky. The moment the ball hit the cloud level, it suddenly exploded into a blast of flash of white. Everyone stopped and looked up to see what was happening. Just as the light died down, the clouds started gathering, and the sky was getting darker and darker by the moment. Thunders could easily be heard, emanating the clouds. Witness my best lightning jutsu, Naruto said, and everyone was focused in him. Naruto channeled lightning chakra to his hand and it started sparkling. He sent the beam into the sky and the thunder seemed to be joining and gathering into a single massive one. The Kazekage was watching the sky very carefully, and when he noticed the dragon, he figured it wasn't going to be good for them. Take cover! The Kazekage yelled at his forces, but it was already too late. Lightning style. Kiren, Naruto said, and his dragon roared his way towards the sand shinobi. The Kazekage tried to block with his sand, but it was far too slow. He didn't even have time to blink as the dragon disappeared in a flash, and the ground where they stood exploded. Everything was ripped apart. Trees, stones, even the earth itself was destroyed, and wire on stood the mighty Kazekage and his 2,000 shinobis. was now nothing more than a 100-meter wide crater. Anko and the other shinobis didn't manage to see what exactly happened there. All they saw was a flash of lightning and, and the ground exploding. The dust cleared and there was no one remaining alive. The ones that survived the initial explosion were simply electrocuted and after in the ashes due to the power of the thunders. Holy shit, Kaki! Uncle yells. Mark is shaking his shoulders and our eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. The reaction of the rest of the shinobis were pretty much the same. They were all busting their asses to keep the enemy away. And Naruto arrives, fires a very powerful lightning jutsu, and it's all over just like that. I told you to have some faith, Naruto said, panting. Even though the jutsu didn't take much chakra, the concentration necessary to use the jutsu was very high for a simple clone. I am dispelling now, Naruto said, and Anko nodded dumbly. So what now? One of the shinobis asked. With the Kages. Edo Tensei, a forbidden jutsu that summons a soul from the pure world to the world of living impure world in order to do the bidding of the summoner. Besides moral ramification, this technique is considered forbidden because it costs a human life to anchor the soul to the world. This technique was invented by Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage, although the reason to why he did are still unknown. The moment the four coffins stopped, the shinobis inside were instantly recognized. They were all legends and powerful in their own way. In the first coffin was a tall man with tan skin, dark eyes, and white waist-length black hair, typically stylish in a central pattern figure that framed his face. His attire took the form of the standard shinobi dress of his era, consisting of dark red traditional armor similar to that of samurais wore over a simple black suit. This armor was concerned from numerous metal plates formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular chest, shoulders, thighs, and forearms. Each collar of the shoulders guards bore the Senju symbol impressed on them. This man was none other than Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage himself and the original god of shinobi. In the second coffin was a woman. She had long bright red hair and large pupils eyes. She wore an elongated high-load kimono with the Uzumaki symbol on the back. Uh, Uzumaki Uzakushaku, the symbol on the back of her opi, which was tied around her waist. Her hair were arranged in a bunch with hairpins in them, and three clips in the front. She was also wearing a dark shade of red lipstick and had a violet colored diamond marking on her forehead. She also wore the tag with the kanji written on them in her hair declares. She also carried a huge red scroll on her back, similar to Joraya. She was Uzumaki Mito, Konoha's Red Princess, and the wife of Hashirama Senju. In the third coffin was a with fair-skinned man with white, shaggy hair, with dark-colored eyes and three red markings on his face, one under each of his eyes and another on his chin. In most cases he wore the wartime attire armor embolized with the Senju symbol wore over a simple black suit with a distinct white fur collar. His armor was considered from the numerous blue metal plates formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular chest, wrist, shoulders, and upper arm. His clothes were embellished by sandals and happier engulfed with Konoha symbols in the place of the more traditional forehead protector. He was Senju Tobirama, Konoha's water dragon, and the second Hokage of Konoha. In the last coffin was another woman. She had a slender but familiar build, her fair skin, blue eyes, crimson hair with standard that framed both sides of her. She was wearing the traditional black uncut pants with white wrap around the necklace. Around her chest, she had the unboot chest plate above simple black suit. She had gloves in each arms that cover her entire arm, almost reaching her shoulders. On her back, a 18-inch long black katana with red hilt. She was Uzumaki, former Senju Kushina. Konoha's red dead wife of the fourth Hokage, but also more importantly, mother of Uzumaki, Naruto. This isn't good. The Hokage muttered under his breath. After all, standing in front of them were four Kage-level shinobis, not to mention Orochimaru himself, and the fact that being an Edo-tensei provides the shinobi with limitless chakra immortality didn't help much. Where am I? Kushina asked as she scrubbed her shoulders. The last thing she remembered was saying goodbye to her son. Edo Tensei, Tobirama asked out loud, snapping Kushina from her thoughts. That man brought us back with the forbidden technique. Ironic, Tobirama said. Edo Tensei? Kushina thought as she watched who she was going to fight against. It was a bulky man with blonde hair, so she assumed he would Kumo Ninja, Kujoraya, and Sarutobi. Hiruzen seemed older than what she remembered, so it must have been more some time. It had been some time. Hiruzen, Kushina called out, getting his attention. How long has it been? She asked. 14 years. He replied smallly. How is Naruto doing? She asked. He felt bad for leaving Naruto alone and leaving him with such a burden, but there wasn't any other choice at that time. Even though the civilian made his life a nightmare, he still turned out a splendid shinobi. But you would be proud of him, the Hokage said with a small smile. He even found love, the Hokage said. That's good. Grandmother always said that to support the head of being a Jinchuriki I should fill myself with love, right? She asked, turning towards Senju Mito, who was quite obviously the red-haired Kushina-chan, she asked, not believing her eyes. Her little girl grew so much since the last time she saw her. It was a shame she was already dead, and apparently she left a dead a son behind. Good to see you again, grandmother, she said, smiling. Ah, take that, Tobirama, my line continued. Take that, Tobirama, my line continued on while you are always take that, Tobirama. My line continued on while you were always rooting around, Hashirama yelled, pointing towards his brother. Just Tobirama replied, crossing his arms. Orochimaru remained quiet while they were instantly and found it very interesting that Kushina called Mito her grandmother. Care to explain why you call Mito your grandmother, Kushina-chan? Orochi. Orochimaru asked, "Why should I answer to you, you pedophile?" Kushina replied. Orochimaru got pissed and forced his control on her Edo Tensei, forcing her to answer all of his questions. "My true name is Senju Kushina. I am the daughter of Senju Tsunade and Don Kato," she replied in a monotone. If Orochimaru was surprised, he didn't show it, but he always thought that Tsunade's daughter had died. Tsunade only had one daughter and she died. Orochimaru replied he was getting very interested. "My death was fake to stop that CRA from taking place. With me dead and Tsunade leaving the village, we were both safe," Kushina replied, and Orochimaru smirked. Naruto was the perfect vessel, the strength of the Shinju blood and the power of the Sharingan. Delicious. He shall be mine. Orochimaru thought it really was a bad decision on your path, brother. Brother Hashirama said to his brother uh, regarding the CRA law that was created by the second Hokage. It was always for the betterment of the village. Tobirama replied, "I don't doubt that, but you are too distant and cold. You are always brooding around like the Uchihas. You need a strong woman to straighten you up." Hashirama said, and Tobirama remains impassive. "Maybe you should set him up with someone, Mito-chan," Hashirama said, turning to his beloved wife Senju Mito. She didn't age a day. She he last saw her, and her beauty remained unparalleled to him. At least he always had. We are all dead, Hashirama-kun. Mito replied with a deadpan expression. "My bad," Hashirama replied, chuckling and scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. The Hokage, Raikage, and Jiraiya were all watching interesting interaction with fascination. It saddened the old Hokage's heart to see his former teacher and some of the greatest shinobi of the leaf brought back from the dead to serve under a despicable man. "I should have killed him when I had the chance," the Hokage thought with shame. All the evil Orochimaru had brought could have been stopped if he had just been stronger then. "Enough talking. Kill them all," Orochimaru commanded, and all of them took their stance. Hashirama and Tobirama crossed and took their taijutsu stance. Mito picked her up her scroll and Kushina took her sword. The Konoha defenses branched themselves for what was coming. Defenders braced themselves for what was coming. "How do you want to do this?" the Raikage asked. "Five shinobis against three hardly seems to fair to anyone. Five against three wasn't doesn't add up very well," Jiraiya said. "Don't count me in. I will just watch for now," Orochimaru said, smirking. "I will take my former teachers. Jiraiya, you take Mito, since the fighters with seals, the Raikage will take Get ready, Hiruzen. The Hokage explained, and they both nodded. Raikage, don't underestimate Kushina. She is almost as fast as you. The Hokage explained, and he raised an eyebrow. He knew that the Kushina was a very powerful Konoichi, but fast as him. You will have to see that. His Hokage robes, revealing the armor underneath. A full body black suit with mesh armors underneath, and the plated and steel plates in the armors. The Hokage suddenly started heading towards Hiruzen. Hashirama arrived first and started a pincer attack, making Hiruzen cross to avoid it. Hashirama continued his attack with a few punches, but Hiruzen blocked them all. Hiruzen crouched and tried to swipe his legs, making Hashirama jump up and back. As Hashirama was pushed back, Tobirama jumped into the fray. Tobirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and jumped over him. Tobirama quickly turned and threw a set of punches, trying to catch Hiruzen off guard. Tobirama jumped up and tried a drop kick that Hiruzen caught. Hiruzen spinned and threw Tobirama into the air. Even in his old age, Hiruzen was still considered the strong was most powerful man in the village, and this was the proof of it. Managing to hold your own in taijutsu against two Hokage at his age was no easy feat. My turn now, Hiruzen said, and the Hokages braced themselves for his attacks. Hiruzen went through a couple of hand seals and said, Fire Dragon Bullet, and sent a torrent of fire that engulfed the Hokages. The flames were covering completely the Hokage, but they remained still. A benefit to the benefit of the Edo Tensei as more immortal body. Hiruzen, seeing that his technique wasn't having effect, he poured more chakra into it, turning the flames into a white Tobirama. Tobirama, seeing the sparkle in Hiruzen's chakra flash through uh, Hansel's water style water wall, Tobirama said, and started expelling water through his mouth that formed all around both Hokages, cancelling the fire attack. Wa- Water exploding water wave, Toriyama said, but he inflicted the inflict of using his chakra to create the water like normal users. He simply gathered the moisture in the atmosphere and used it to power his attacks. The water started swirling around him until he unleashed a massive tsunami towards Hiruzen. Art style, Earth Wall, Hiruzen said before splitting out a dart from his mouth. The moment the dart hit the floor, it sprouted into the air, forming a wall of shielded him from impending tsunami. As the water calmed down, Hiruzen went through another set of hand seals and said, Earth style. Earth Dragon Bullet, and a dragon made of a dragon head rose from the ground and started shooting multiple balls of globes of earth towards the Hokage's curtain. Fire style, fire dragon bomb. Illusion said, and combined the earth bullets with the fire, turning them into almost lava. The Utin lava bloodline allows the user to use the magma, earth, and fire chakra to create lava style, and thus he does use the lava attacks. However, anyone can combine the main elemental exactly. However, the power is significantly lower. So he's just using lava style. But a weaker one. The Hokage started evasive maneuvers to avoid the bullets as they were running towards Hiruzen. Hashirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and both engaged in taijutsu battle as the shinobi code declares this is using even advanced possible, and Hiruzen said to do so. He dipped his feet in water and threw it into Hashirama's Hiruzen's eyes, blinding him momentarily. Hashirama took advantage of his blindness and unleashed a combo of punches and kicks, trying to end Hiruzen permanently. They couldn't control themselves, so they couldn't stop from using low bows. So they are using anything they can to defeat him. Tobirama jumped into the fight as well. However, Hiruzen didn't go down as easily as they thought. Using the momentum at which he received the punch and kicks, he distinctly placed explosive tags on both Hokages. He quickly regained his senses again and broke the taijutsu fight by planting a feet in Hashirama's chest and sending him flying. Release, Hiruzen said with his right hand in the tiger seal, and both explosion tags detonated, blowing up Hashirama's legs and Tobirama's Edo Tensei and Tobirama's arm. Now this would have been enough to kill any shinobi, but the Edo allowed the body to regenerate. Hiru, Hiruzen watched in amazement as the leg and arm were destroyed. He formed to himself as if nothing happened. Deep forest wood style, deep forest immersions. Shirama said as trees started engulfing the emerging from the ground, peeping through everything. The tiles, the earth's wall, nothing stopped the onslaught of trees. Hiruzen was forced to take aggressive maneuvers, but in the end, the trees caught him and snared him by the ankles and arms. Hiruzen caused himself to move under his condition and beat up his tub thumb drew blood. He stretched and placed his hand near a branch of tree. Summoning jutsu, Hiruzen said, and smoke erupted from where he placed his hand. As the smoke cleared, he showed a figure. His body and tails was covered with white fur, which proceeded from his sleeves and pants. He has long white hair that reached his back and long sideburns and a goatee. He wears a black suit with mesh armor underneath, over which he wears a sleeveless kimono shirt with white fur trimmings and making animations of tiger streams on it, which is held crossed by a slash. He was immense. The monkey. He was Enma, the Monkey King and boss summon of the Monkey Clan. Orochimaru, Orochimaru, I warned you. Enma said, watching Hiruzen trapped in a tree. Let's end him now. Transform into the adamantine staff. Hiruzen said, "Hi." Enma said and jumped into a branch and said, "Transformation, adamantine staff." Enma was engulfed in smoke, and when it cleared, Enma was no longer a monkey but a staff. The staff quickly crushed and the tree and freed Hiruzen from his prison before resting in his hand as he took a defensive stance. Jiraiya versus Senju Mito. Jiraiya gulped as he watched Mito remove the scroll from her back. After all, Mito was an Uzumaki, and their serious technique wasn't to be underestimated. In the least, Uzumaki Mito did defeat the QB when Madara attacked at the Valley of the End and sealed him inside of her without dying. Senju Mito was one of the few combat sealers. As long as she had chakra, her possibility in battles were endless. And since Jiraiya was a seal master himself, he knew very well the foe he was up against. I wonder if I should use Sage mode. Jiraiya considered in thought. Jiraiya decided that he shouldn't allow Mito to do anything and rushed her again in taijutsu. Mito, seeing Jiraiya run towards her, quickly placed the scroll on her back and took a defensive stance. Jiraiya arrived near her and threw a set of punches that she easily blocked. Jiraiya tried to swipe her legs, making her jump. While in the air, Jiraiya tried to punch her, but she grabbed his arms and supported herself, and she spinned mid-air and delivered a spine kick to Jiraiya. Jiraiya tumbled back, but quickly regained his position. He nursed his neck before going towards her once again. He quickly arrived near her, threw a right hook. Her attention was focused on his right arm, opening her defenses for Joraiya's left hand to slip through and hit her, sending her flying to the ground. She got up as if nothing had happened, and they both rushed each other once again. The moment they arrived near each other, both Mito jumped over him. She placed her hand on Joraiya's back, simply applying a seal on him and jumping away from him. Joraiya didn't know what happened as such, this distracted this sequence as unimportant until he saw Mito place her right hand on the tiger's seal. Fusion electric seal activate. Mito said, and the seal on Jorah's back glowed and started ending. Started sending electric shock through Jorah's body, making him walk in pain until he exploded in a puff of smoke. I figured the moment you touched me, you applied some seal, Jorah said, rising from the ground. Ninfun hair needles, Jorah said, and his hair expanded before starting to fire hundreds of hair needles towards Mito, who remained in place. Mito spared her hands to sparred her hands from each other, separated her hands from each other. From her seat emerged two tags, one on each hand. Smoke, shock absorbent shield, barrier technique, shock absorber seal, and a golden barrier appeared in front of her, easily blocking all of the other sand bones. The moment they hit the barrier, it didn't even waver or balk from the pressure. Jorah, seeing his attack was useless, stopped launching sand bones and they decided to try another approach. He fires like a giant fire blast. Jorah said before flashing through hand cells and sending a wall of fire towards Mito, who remained impassive to any attack Jorah threw. Mito took out ceiling tags, however this seems slightly different. Barrier technique, chakra absorption seal, Mito said, and what seemed to be a blank black hole erupted between her arms and engulfed the fire attack, trace of it leaving no trace of it. She can absorb chakra as well. Damn. Joraya muttered out loud. Mito really was a fearsome opponent. She managed to block a physical and chakra-powered attack with nothing more than ink and paper. Mito quickly opened her big scroll and turned in, throwing Joraya, who raised an elbow in confusion. Dragon bomb. The meteor said before the seal from the scroll started glowing. Suddenly, from the seal, a massive torrent of fire sprouted in from a dragon head erupted and headed towards Joraya, scorching everything on its path. Died in Earth style, Earth wall. Jorah said, and all of Earth rose from the ground to shield Jorah from the incoming flames. The flame attack had a very large reach, and Jorah couldn't be able to dodge in time. The flames contacted with the wall, but it wasn't strong enough to withstand the pressure. Can't believe I am getting my ass kicked by someone who isn't even using ninjutsu. Joraya thought, shaking his head in shame. The Doten, underworld swamp. Joraya said, and as the ground beneath Mita suddenly liquefied, making her fall into the swamp and burying half of her body. The earth quickly hardened, trapping her. Joraya suddenly approached her and yelled, "Rastengan!" as he drove a blue chakra spear right through Mito's chest, destroying everything around it, even the ground. Mito had her arms trapped into the swamp. She couldn't block or dodge the attack. Joraya jumped back and was watching the cloud of dust starting to settle. He narrowed his eyes as he watched Mito's chest starting to reform. A few seconds later, and it was as if nothing had happened. Joraya was forced in watching Mito reformed that he didn't notice three of Mito's Kakebushan suddenly surround him, making a triangle around him. They all pulled a tag that seemed to float in air, a ceiling trap. chakra draining seal. All of the three clones shouted in unison and triangle, red color barrier erupted, trapping Joraya inside and starting to drain his chakra. She is stealing my chakra and fast. Joraya thought as he was starting to feel the chakra drainage. If he kept inside, he could be out of chakra in mere minutes. Joraya started forming a Rasengan but noticed that it was being absorbed as well. He needed to create a large Rasengan to use it quickly, so Mito didn't have time to absorb a Odomo Rasengan. Joraya said before making a Rasengan twice as big as the normal one. He quickly smashed the Rasengan onto the ground and the ground exploded underward, breaking the barrier and the clones as well. Joraya cleaned a bit of sweat and jumped back to gain some distance from Mito. Raikage versus Kushina. Who are you? Kushina asked. Why do you want to know? Raikage asked, genuinely surprised from that question. From that question, even though I hold no love for Kumo, I wish to know the name of my opponent. Kushina explained. I am A. Yondame Raikage. The Raikage said, and Kushina nodded. Shall we begin? Kushina said before grasping her sword and making the Raikage's mark. Perhaps this wasn't such a bad fight after all. They both dashed towards each other. The Raikage had yet to activate his lightning armor as he wanted to get a feel for Kushina's power, so he kept at the elite shonen speed and elbow. The Raikage said as he reached near Kushina, he flexed his elbow to hit her. Kushina swiftly ducked under him and brought the hilt of her sword upwards, slamming it against the Raikage's chin and planting a kick to his chest, sending him flying. Dragon Drive, Kushina said before flexing her blade and pointing her towards the Raikage. Kushina channeled her body with chakra before exploding towards the Raikage at very high speed, but the Raikage wasn't the fastest man alive for nothing. He managed to deflect it all the barely. Raikage seeing Kushina so up close charged at her and said, "Lightning lariat," and tried to slam his right arm into Kushina's neck, destroying it. Kushina simply bent her body backwards and allowed the arm to pass above her without touching her. The moment that Raikage's arm had safely passed above Kushina, she quickly rose up once again. She jumped up into the air and used the Raikage's arm as a leverage. She spread his head between her legs. She tilted down, placing her head on the ground on leverage once again, and smashed the Raikage into the ground hard and jumped back to gain some distance. Enough of this child's play. The Raikage said before his chakra spiked, and his body was engulfed in blue chakra that was sparkling with electricity everywhere. This was the Raikage's most powerful technique, the lightning armor, a technique that by channeling lightning chakra through the synapses and the external body, it improves the user's reaction time, overall speed, defenses. Kushina, seeing her opponent using the fabled Fury lightning armor, knew she needed him something that allowed her to keep up with what will be his speed. Her husband managed to avoid a fast strike by using his Hirashin, but she didn't have at her disposal. Kushina began focusing and channeling wind chakra through her external body. Wind armor. Kushina essayed by surrounding her body with wind chakra, she can cut down the wind resistance, increasing the overall speed. However, this technique doesn't protect her from anything like the Raikages. The Raikage disappeared in a blink of an eye and appeared just above Kushina. Mm, Galaton drop. The Raikage said and tried to perform a drop kick on Kushina. However, Kushina, due to her wind armor, managed to jump away from avoiding that settled on the ground. The wind slashed Kushina's head, said, and wrapped in an instant while the Raikage destroyed the ground, channeling wind chakra through her blade. She performed a horizontal swing at the Raikage, who had just enough time to tilt his head as the blade passed right above his head, cutting a few strands of hair. The Raikage quickly recovered and jumped away. As he landed, he noticed a drop of blood fall to the ground. He placed his hand on his head and looked at it. He noticed a bit of blood. Even with my lightning armor, she managed to cut me. The Raikage thought it was a bad luck in the end. The only thing that can beat lightning is wind. The Raikage was looking carefully at Kushina as she booked in smoke. He looked around just in time to see Kushina appear next to him, trying a horizontal slash across his chest. The Raikage, using his lightning reflexes, caught the blade and with his bare hand and smashed a kick into Kushina's chest, and she was sent tumbling to the ground. The Raikage had enough of this. He had to end the battle fast, so he could go and help the others battle. He focused and brought his lightning armor to full power, making it sparkle even more, and his hair became sparklier. Kushina was looking at him at him when he suddenly dispelled. She didn't even have time to blink as the Raikage replaced right next to her. He grabbed her by the waist and said, "Linger boom, linger boom." Bomb and smashed her into the ground, completely tearing her apart and blowing up the ground in simultaneously. The Raikage jumped and smirked in victory until he noticed that the Kushina's body was reinforcing. A few seconds later, she was standing in front of her as if nothing had happened. Damn that arrogance, the Raikage thought as he was considering what he could do to end this despicable technique. Kushina walked forward and placed her hand on the ground, touching the Raikage's blood from one of his injuries that Kushina managed to inflict. Kushina spread the blood through her hand and flashed through hand seals before slamming both hands onto the ground. Fusion gravity well. Kushina said, and Kayanji erupted from her hands and spread through the arena while they were fighting. In less than 2 seconds, the whole arena was covered. The Raikage rose and elbow in confusion, but when he saw Kushina activate his seal, he almost fell to the ground. The gravity in the area was increased almost 5 times. She is trying to slow me down. Smart, the Raikage thought. Infinite blade, Kushina shouted before she disappeared from the view. Suddenly, the Raikage's skin busted in red passion, show cuts all over his body. The Raikage burst in pain, but this sort of wounds wouldn't slow him down. Lightning straight. The Raikage said before dashing straight forward towards Kushina with his fist cocked. The only person to ever avoid this attack was Kushina's husband Namikaze Minato, but due to the gravity field, the Raikage was slower and Kushina easily dodged it to the side. Enough of this, the Raikage roared before jumping high into the air and said drop kick and smashed his foot into the ground, vanishing all the tiles vaporizing all the tiles and impact and completely disrupting the seal's materials, making Kushina drop the gravity field. They were about to jump at it once again when all of them heard a piercing sound from the middle of the arena. All of them stopped their battles and regrouped, shifting their attention to the arena floor where Shukaku was yelling in pain as he was having his chakra suppressed. This chakra, it's Shukaku, Toyirama said as he was one of the most talented sensor to ever live. No doubt, Hashirama replied. Looks like Naruto came through, Jiraiya said, and the old Hokage nodded. What do you mean Naruto came through? Kushina asked in a very sweet tone, making all of the male gulp and take a step back. Did you put my son against a Biju? She asked, so it slightly grasped her sword. Now, Kushina, he was the one that chose to face the Ichibi. The Hokage tried to reason with her. Besides, from the looks of it looks like he won. The Hokage said Jiraiya didn't say anything. He still remembered the beating he took when he tried to spy on her and Minato. Not even Orochimaru himself said anything as he still remembered all of the broken bones he had when he said that Kushina looked he said that Kushina looked fat. He is approaching. Tobirama said, and they all noticed a figure arrived near the roof. Naruto jumped up and passed right through the barrier as if it wasn't even there. How the hell did that punk pass through the barrier? Tayoya yelled. How should I know? Saikon replied, Hey old man, need a hand? Naruto asked before the enlargement. Analyzed before he analyzed the situation. He looked around and saw that Orochimaru had done, but his eyes were fixed on one red-haired woman. Kasan? Naruto said in a low voice, but everyone heard him. Naruto-kun, Kushina said and ran towards her son, but Orochimaru forced his control over her, making her stop on her tracks, tears running from her eyes. You dare summon my family? You are going to pay, Orochimaru, Naruto said and flashed his Sharingan, making it slowly shift into the Mongekyo, his eternal, displaying the first displayed for the first time to the world without any genjutsu hiding it. Orochimaru was shocked when he noticed the shift in Naruto's eyes, and he felt something he wasn't even felt he felt in a long time. Fear. Is that? Hashirama asked, pointing towards to the fan in Naruto's back. It's my grandfather's fan, Hashirama Jiji. Naruto said, smirking, and Hashirama and Tobirama's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Madara had a son? Hashirama said, not believing his ears. He didn't see that one coming. Yes, you did a wonderful job killing him at the Valley of the End. You did a wonderful job killing him at the Valley of the End. Naruto said, What? Hashirama yelled. He survived? Hashirama asked, and Naruto nodded. Ironic, don't you think? Naruto asked, and Hashirama got confused. To think the descendants of you both would fall in love, Naruto said. Hashirama and Tobirama chuckled at the irony before they focused their attention on the blonde and noticed his eyes. A Mongekyo? Tobirama asked and sensed his chakra levels making his eyes widen. His chakra levels are through the roofs. They are on par with lower class bijus. How in the world? Tobirama said, but Hashirama interrupted him. I sense the Kyuubi chakra in him. It looks like he is the new Jinchuriki, Hashirama said, and Tobirama nodded, and it made sense. It's good to see that my legacy lives on. Hashirama said. Naruto don't go in blindly. They can be defeated by ordinary means. The Hokage said, I know how the Edo Tensei works. Gigi Naruto said, and Kushina smiled at the affectionate name he had for the third. At least he wasn't alone. How do you know it? A forbidden technique, the Hokage asks suspiciously. Remember when I found Orochimaru's abandoned laboratory? Naruto asked and the Hokage nodded. In there I found blood samples as well Orochimaru's notebook to the on Edo Tensei. Naruto said, the reason I know how it works very well is because I can use it as well. Naruto said and everyone's eyes widened at the structure. Naruto, the Hokage asked with a hard voice, I hope you didn't use it. I would never sacrifice someone else's life to bring someone back. Anyone to bring back anyone, even if it was family. Naruto said, and the Hokage sighed in relief. There were three ways to defeat an Edo Tensei. The Hokage said, getting Naruto getting their attention. And one, we can seal the soul away, thus dispelling the irritants completely. Two, we can vaporize the body completely, thus stopping it from reforming on. Or three, since I know the seal, we can force the summoner to end the irritants himself. Naruto explained, and they frowned. Either way is going to be difficult. Ero Sensei, Naruto said, "Stop calling me that." Joraya said then the rest sweat dropped. How could they do this in the middle of a fight? Kushina just laughed as he had called him the same when she was alive. I can't use the any genjutsu strong enough to force them to release the Edotenses. So do you know any sealing technique besides the Hiki Fuing? Naruto asked, yes, but it takes time to prepare. Naruto said, and Joraya said, and Naruto nodded. We will hold them until then, Naruto said, and everyone rose and eyebrow at that statement. Don't worry, Kasan, I am freeing you from Orochimaru's grabs. Now, shall we dance? Naruto's asked, marking and grasping the fan on his back. He always wanted to face against powerful opponents, and it it didn't get any more powerful than the Hokages. Flashback: Valley of the End. Hashirama and Madara were facing each other, getting ready to start their duel. I will say this one more time, Madara. Forget this path, Hashirama said as he looked at his long, ti- long, day, long, day, long time, friend. There is no turning back, Hashirama. Now shall we dance? End of flashback. Hashirama chuckled at their similarities between Naruto and Madara. It looked like Madara's blood was running stronger through his veins, more strongly than Hashirama's own blood. Old man, give me fire. Give me, Naruto said, and the Hokage nodded to the Hokage, and he nodded. Fire, dragon, bullet. The Hokage said, exploding a torrent of white hot fire towards Orochimaru. Great dragon fire technique. Great dragon fire technique, Naruto said before he also started to explain his own stream of fire. He quickly picked his fan and sweat enveloping the flame with wind. An inferno was unleashed towards Orochimaru, but they all remained in place. Tobirama clapped his hands together and water started rotating around all of them before exploding towards the flames. Incoming flames, a huge cloud of steam erupted behind everyone except Naruto, who, due to his Sharingan, managed to see the chakra of everyone. Taking advantage of the cloud of steam, Naruto quickly drew towards them, and at less than 10 kunais he had with him with the Hiraian seals. Hiraian seal. The cloud disappeared and everyone remained in the same place, not moving an inch. Suddenly, Hashirama started going through hand seals and said, "Wood style, wood spikes." Suddenly, a tree sprouted from the ground and started sending wooden strikes towards Naruto and company. Naruto channeled chakra to his chakra to his war fan and said, Guven barrier technique. A semicircular purple barrier erupted mid-air, interfacing all of the wooden spike, making them fall to the ground. They were all disappeared on defeating and that they didn't notice Kushina. Kushina blurred right through them, heading towards Joraiya. Joraiya, behind you! The Hokage yelled as Kushina appeared next to Joraiya, trying to cleave his head off. The Raikage powered his lightning armor and dashed at the top of his speed towards Kushina. Kushina. He wasn't going to arrive in time when they all saw a yellow flash appearing next to Joraiya and slamming a Rasengan into Kushina. Edo Sensei, quick, seal her while she is reforming. Naruto yelled, making Joraiya hurry and place one of his finished attacks on Kushina's body. You did well, Naruto-kun. I am sorry we left you all alone, but we love you very much. I am proud of you, Kushina said as her utensil was starting to crack indiscriminately. Her sword was about to be released. Thank you, Kasan, Naruto said, sobbing. He usually never let his emotional guard to anyone but other than his more trusted people, but this one was more exceptional. Kushina was starting to fade away before Naruto approached her and whispered something to her ears, only bringing a smile to her face before fading away completely. You are going down, Orochimaru, Naruto said. Yeah, or Naruto said something to her mother. And you're gonna figure out that if you subscribe, because it's gonna be revealed in the next few parts. You are going down, Orochimaru, Naruto said, glaring at the snake. That was the Raikage started saying before everything fell into place. You are Minato's brat, aren't you? The Raikage asked rhetorically. Yes, I am, and by the way, Minato was Madra's son, Naruto said, and the first two Hokages widened their eyes. Who would have thought that Madra's son would have become Hokage? Enough of this. Kill them. The Orochimaru ordered, and they all dashed towards the elite defenders. Joraiya, how are the tags coming along? Hurry up, will you? The Hokage asked. Give me a break. This ain't easy to make. Joraiya started. Hey, here they come, the Raikage said before taking a defensive stance. Let's end this, the Raikage said, trying to boost the morale. Naruto dashed towards Hashirama and began engaged in taijutsu. Naruto had dropped the weights a long time ago if he wanted to keep up with the Kages. So this is the power of a Kage. I need to step up my training, Naruto said as he was beginning pushed back by Hashirama's raw power. Hashi- Hashirama threw a right hook that connected with Naruto and left him slightly dazed. Naruto's Kamui activated just in time to see Orochimaru explode naked passing right through him. Naruto, what the hell, you pedophile? Are you trying to give me a hickey? Naruto smugly said, trying to piss him off. You shouldn't rat him up, rat him up. The Hokage said, chuckling at this surrounding and his supposed grandson. I have another red E. Joraiya started and Naruto nodded. Naruto channeled as much chakra as he could into his body and sent a kick towards Orochimaru and sent him flying. Naruto, using his Kamui, pressed right through Hashirama's and jumped back. Naruto crossed and connected golden chain and concreted golden chains emerged from the ground and snared Hashirama into ground. The chains twisted around his neck, snaring him to that spot. Raikage! Naruto yelled before the Raikage abandoned his fight with Tobirama and charged at full speed and said, Lariat! The Raikage dashed towards Hashirama, who was pinned at full speed, smashing his arm into him, destroying his chest completely. Joraiya quickly approached next to them and placed the sealing tag in Hashirama's back, break him free. Hashirama breaking him free. The village is in good hands. I hope we meet again, Naruto, although not too soon. Hashirama said, smiling as his soul was released. The village is in good hands. He could only sense that Naruto had a pure heart and that the wheel of fire burned brightly in him. That stood down. Naruto said, panting, even though Kurama could he filled his chakra reserves at any time, and he had good stamina. This invasion was taking its toll on his body. He already had two matches on against Biju. He had 2,000 clones, and now he is here fighting against Kages. Now you now old man. Naruto said towards the Hokage, panting. If I don't make you, you now, you know, old man, Naruto said towards the old Hokage, panting. If I don't make Chunin after all of this, I am going to burn all of your Icha books. Naruto started and the Hokage failed. Easy there, the Hokage said, waving his hands. During all of this, Orochimaru was breathing with his teeth. Everything was going so well until the bread appeared and then these utensils started falling like flies. Now they were in an advantage as if for against retreat. And the worst part of it is that he didn't afford to kill, he couldn't afford to kill the brat. Orochimaru decided that enough was enough and spared a sword out of his mouth. It was the crash cutter sword that is said to be indestructible. And then again, so is Naruto's fan. Suddenly, Naruto snapped and brought his head down in shame. Down in shame, the Hokage seemed confused and asked what happened. The Kazekage is dead, Naruto said, and Orochimaru's eyes widened. The Kazekage was supposed to invade the village with a small army and take its surprise. What happened? The Hokage asked. Whether he was leading 2,000 shinobis towards us, so I launched Kiri against them and killed them all, the Naruto said in a low voice. He had just killed over 2,000 people with a single jutsu. Even though he was defending his village, those shinobis were just following orders from their leader and Orochimaru himself. The Hokage's eyes widened as well everyone else's. To be able to kill so many shinobis with a single jutsu, it reminded him of his father, the Yellow Flash, who used his Shiraishin jutsu to discriminate almost 1,000 shinobis during the Third Great Shinobi War. To place such a guilt on such a young man, the Hokage thought the war never brought benefits to anyone, and this little invasion was proof of that. That must be one hell of a jutsu. The Raikage commander is slightly interested in it. The ability to instantly take out so many shinobis easily rank the jutsu as an S rank. The next target is ready. Tag is ready, the Joraiya said and got ready once again. I wouldn't allow this anymore. Mito, use anything. Use your strongest skills. I don't care. Just finish them. Orochimaru ordered and Mito obeyed. Mito instantly started going through hand seals at very high speed instantly that it was going to be one big sequence, and big sequels usually aren't good. Joraiya sequence. The Joraiya was watching carefully the sequence when his eyes widened in realization. You can't allow her to finish this seal. Stop her now! Joraiya yelled, but it was too late. Sealing trap. Obligation. Mito said, and instantly kanji erupted from her hands and covered the entire roof where Jiraiya and the others were. The kanji suddenly started flowing through the air traffic. Jiraiya and the others in air. Activate. Mito said, and the Kanji spear glowed before exploding with such a force that the entire building shook, but the explosion and the flames didn't leave the spear and remained there for a few seconds. The flame died down, and the Kanji created the spear of the spear. Orochimaru smirked when the smoke cleared, and as he saw nothing inside the spear, he couldn't even sense them anymore. So that could only mean that he won. In the end, Konoha shall perish as well. Orochimaru said, laughing, and the Edotense looked down in shame. Don't get cocky, boy, the Raikage said, and they all reappeared in the rooftop by Naruto's Kamui. Naruto, by this time, was standing on the ground, taking long breaths. How did you survive? Orochimaru was getting pissed. No matter what he did, they were always managing to escape. You have Naruto to thank for that, the Hokage said, looking at him. He transported all of us to his pocket dimension just before the explosion happened, the Hokage said, chuckling, and Orochimaru scowled. You really are one of the kind, Naruto, Orochimaru said, chuckling. Sure, such a perfect vessel, he said. I don't swing that way, Naruto said, chuckling. I have both tags ready. Let's end this for good, Joraiya said before everyone agreed. The battle had gone on for long, and Naruto was almost completely exhausted. And I'm also getting exhausted. This is a very long goddamn what if, and it's gonna be on whole video. So you should please leave a like on the video at least. I will make my I will make my final move, Naruto said before he disappeared in a flash. He appeared right behind Tobirama and slammed a Rasengan in his back, sending him flying towards the Hokage, who caught him and immobilized him, allowing Jiraiya to seal him. You did well, Saru, Tobirama said before disappearing. Thank you, Sensei, the Hokage replied. You are next. Naruto whispered into Mito's ears as he flashed behind her as well. Rasengan! Naruto says and slammed it against Mito, destroying her body completely. Jiraiya quickly approached her and placed the tag on her, releasing her as well. Now it's only Orochimaru, the Hokage said. Konoha may have survived today, but it shall fall, Orochimaru said as he was getting ready to leave. You are not going anywhere, Naruto said as he flashed next to him and grabbed him by the arm. The moment Naruto caught Orochimaru, Kanji started flowing through out of Naruto's arms. And Orochimaru, seeing this, immediately performed a Karuari with a log, but the Kanji did manage to cover his entire right arm. This is the end, Naruto said before placing his right hand on the tiger seal. Activate, Naruto said, and almost instantly the kanji glowed, and what seemed to be worst pain Orochimaru ever felt. This one was even worse. Orochimaru seemed seated in pain until the seal started to fade off and disappeared from his arms. What did you do? What did you do, brat? Orochimaru asked. His arm felt numb. However, it was a bit numb from the pain. I destroyed the chakra network of your arm. You can no longer more chakra with that arm. You lose, Naruto says, smirking. This wouldn't be the end. Drop the barrier. We are leaving, Orochimaru said, or ordered, and immediately the sound for disappeared. Dispelled the barrier and ran towards their master. They grabbed him and tried to jump away, but you aren't going anywhere, Naruto said before he summoned his golden chains and tried to capture them, but one of the sound for launched what seemed to be a spider web, giving them enough time to switch me away. Damn it, they got away, Naruto said, punching the ground. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we will get him eventually, the Hokage said. All of them were taking deep breaths as they all overlooked Konoha. It seemed that the village didn't take much damage, and the Hokage was glad for it. Naruto suddenly clashed his head in pain. Old man, the invasion is over and my clones are dispelling, so I will be fainting now. See you tomorrow. Naruto said as his eyes rolled behind his head and he fell to the ground only to have the Hokage grab him. Yes, now Naruto, you did much more than I could ever hope. The Hokage said as he picked Naruto up and scared him in his back. That's some kid, the Hokage said. Yes, he is. Jiraiya said, proud of of the shinobi his grandson had become. That's all for part 24, the invasion of legacy. Uh, it was a really long one, so I hope you guys at least leave a like. That being said, that's all for this video. I have to see you in the next one. Bye bye.